Yeah, the parents are really helpful. And also, I feel like as a head coach, it's your job to also get them involved, get them, to not be so shy, not talk to each other. So I really try to, get everyone engaged. I also always do like a parents kids game, like a wiffle ball game. I did that for the first time last year, my first year at T-ball, and that was great. I felt like I should have did it earlier because we did it at the end of the season. I feel like after that, the parents were like really, bought into everything, and like we're really a community after that.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Clearing the Bases, the podcast where we step up to the plate and dive deep into the world of youth baseball. I'm your host, Jimmy Filangieri. On this show, we discuss all things related to the preparation and development of youth baseball players, coaches, and yes, even parents. So sit back, settle in, and get ready to hear from some of the greatest baseball minds out there.
And then from there, it depends what I wanted to work on. If we just had a game and I saw something that I was like, oh, I haven't taught them yet, I'll go straight into that. Like one time it was forehands and backhands. I noticed they were trying to get in front of balls that are too far. They can't get in front of them. So we start working on, I set up something to work on forehands and backhands so they know how to do it. I usually plan the day before what drills I want to run in practice, and I'll text all my coaches, hey, this is what I was thinking for tomorrow, and they'll usually say, yeah, that's good, or we should add this too, and then I'll go from there. So it's like really collaborative. I always want their input too. I'll never just be like, no, I'm the head coach, we're doing this.
To be able to reach the highest levels of this game, you got to work hard. You got to get in the cages. You got to do your strength and conditioning. You got to throw your bullpens. There's all of this physical stuff that you need to do, and you need to work hard at it. But don't forget that you also have to get better at the mental side of the game. And one of the ways you can do that is increase baseball IQ by downloading and using the 6-Tool app.
For baseball coaches like you, every game brings measurable progress. However, game time isn't the time for trial and error learning. Instead, have a proactive approach. Use 6-Tool, the best baseball player development tool on the market. We provide a platform to level up your coaching strategy by helping you to quickly identify and address your players' knowledge of the game. By using our easy-to-implement interactive player quizzes, you can assess position-specific issues, overall baseball IQ, and much more. Win more games and develop better overall baseball players with effective off-the-field training. Visit us at 6-tool.com. 6-Tool. Get ahead in the game.
Okay, everybody, we're going to jump way back into the world of youth baseball with Little League. Tonight, we have Sal Sepulveda, who is from the Hiawatha Park Youth Baseball League in Chicago. And, we haven't done a show with a Little League coach since we did, I think it was Matt Cole or maybe Pete Lyons. So that's been like 4 years ago. So this is going to be interesting. Everybody sit down and sit back and enjoy the show. How you doing tonight, Sal?
Good, how about you?
Hanging in there. I mean, I complained all spring long that I was freezing to death. And, now all of a sudden it's 95 degrees and humid. So other than that, I'm doing fine.
Yeah, that was the same exact thing for our season too. I think our last 3-4 games was finally broke 90 and it was hot.
Yeah. Yeah. When you go from, it was really in late spring, it was still in the 60s here. And then all of a sudden, like the following week, I think the temperature jumped up to almost 100, and it was really, really tough to deal with. But so, talk to me. How did you get involved with the Hiawatha Park League?
Yeah, I moved to the area about 4 years ago when my son was just 1, and as soon as he turned 4, I put him in T-ball, and I've been around baseball my whole life, so I just decided I was going to coach him. At first, I was just toying. I was like, maybe I'll just help out. And then, I immediately got asked, "Do you want to be a head coach?" And I was like, "Sure." Um, so I had coached before, previously before I had kids, but that was the first time coaching. New dynamic coaching your own kids. So, but it's been a lot of fun. We just finished our second year, so I've had the same kids from their first year in T-ball. We just finished our second year of spring ball, and then we'll be going into fall ball in mid-August.
That's fantastic. So, I mean, you say you've been around baseball your whole life. So, did you play?
Yeah, I played all through grade school, all through high school, um, and then after that, I gave lessons. I would say about a year or two, and coached travel for a little bit, and then kind of fell out of the game until I had kids, and then I kind of right back in it.
Yeah, I know the feeling well. I kind of had the same thing. I started coaching. Again, I'm going to date myself, but I started coaching back in 1983, and I coached for, a few years, not many. And then I, took time away. And then when my son was born, that's when I started coaching again, and it's taken off since then.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, especially coaching your own kid. It's a really different dynamic. You kind of gotta be a coach to everyone else, but also to your kids. So, but I don't want to push them too much because I'm the coach. Because I tend to see that a lot where the coach's kid kind of gets the worst of everything because their dad's the coach. So, I try really hard not to let that happen. I hardly ever work with my own son. I usually put him with someone else, and I just work with the other kids.
Yeah, it's probably a smart move because no matter no matter what you do, it's going to be wrong.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I work with him at home when he wants to, and that's about it. When we're on the field, I'm just another coach to him.
Right. So, now that you're back into it again, and how would you say your coaching philosophy is? I mean, I know that they're very young, but you still have to have some type of standards or philosophy that you go by. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. My philosophy is I try to make everything as fun as possible. Um, we're still, going to play baseball and run through drills, but I try to make them all games. Just try to, because I think that's a huge issue with young kids. Baseball at a young age, it's kind of boring. You're sitting out there, especially T-ball. The ball gets hit to like maybe two spots, the pitcher and maybe third base. So I just had to find ways to keep the kids engaged, especially on defense, because everyone loves to hit. But defense is kind of harder. So what I do is I move them every 2-3 batters. We move the whole infield. So they're at least getting a different look every couple batters, because just sitting out there, it's kind of boring, especially if you're in the outfield. The ball's probably not going to get hit out there, very rarely. I do walk-up songs, so they can get excited. They love that. So I just try to make, real fun vibe. Not a lot of yelling, just, we still play baseball. We still, have work to do, but I try to make it as fun as possible is really my philosophy, and try to build a community around my team, which we've done really well with. All the parents, I know them all, first name basis. So just stuff like that. That's what I really look for.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, the parents are important. If you could start building that community now, I would imagine that it'll make your life easier as your son goes through the system.
Yeah.
Everything, no matter what, it's all about relationships. And the stronger you make those relationships, the better off your life is.
Yeah. Yeah. Once they, kind of buy in and kind of feel like they're a part of the team, you get much more commitment. The kid is excited to come. The parents are excited to bring them. So, yeah, I think my team specifically has done really well with that. All the kids, hang out with each other all the time, even outside of baseball. So it's really good to see.
Yeah, that's really cool. One of the things that I hear all the time, and I talk about a little bit, is like having competition with 4, 5, 6 year olds. I mean, is the T-ball is it competitive? Are they actually playing a game? When you're doing this, or are there practices? What do you do?
Yeah, so we have practices. I usually keep it to 3 days a week, so it'll be, either 2 games, one practice, or 2 practices, one game. I keep it like that just because the kids don't get burned out. And we do have games, and like they get a full uniform and we play, but there's no no score, no outs. Um, and then when the kids ask me like who won, I just say, oh, we're just playing for fun. So it is a game in a loose term, but it's really just so they get the hang of, wearing a jersey, where to stand, when it's your turn to hit, and then we kind of build it off of there. So next year, I mean, this coming fall, they'll all move up to where they'll be playing with outs, a score, and stuff like that. So it'll be a interesting transition for them. But for fall ball, it's more developmental, so there's no standings or like a playoff. So it's really, again, just for fun. But there will be winners, losers, and umps in this next league.
Okay, so I'm big on development, especially at the younger ages. I believe it's so important, and I think it's something that is, how do I put it? I don't want to say non-existent, but I want to say that it doesn't happen as much as it should. So
Yeah.
what are you doing with your players, and what will you do in the future to develop players? What do you think is important as far as development is concerned?
I think a lot of the fundamentals, how to feel the ground ball, how to hold your glove, or even a prep step. Like a lot of kids don't know a prep step, even at the older ages. Um, Things like that. How to hit off speed, things like that. These are all things that we work on constantly. Of course, once you make it a game, the kids don't even know what they're working on, really. They're working on it and they're doing it right, but they don't know why yet, at least.
Right.
So that's what I try to focus on. We did a lot. So I made PVC that we use for batting. I put that on the ground, have them stand right behind it, and teach them they field the ball in front of the PVC pipe. Or like I have foot markers too to teach them after they field it. You gotta, right, left, throw. So we're working a lot of footwork, a lot of, glove positioning, backhands, forehands, and then also a lot of tee work with the PVC. We do that almost every practice, just to get their hips engaged and use their legs and not drop the hands. That's a huge issue I see with the younger players because the bats are a little heavy for them.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's another thing that we see in players, 10 years from now, when your son is going into high school, we see guys that are still dropping their hands. But the earlier you can get to that and have them fix that, then the better off they're going to be. But see, I've always been a proponent that at that age, 4, 5, 6, that a big thing what we should be doing is teaching them, like fundamental movement skills, how to move, how does the body move, running, hopping, jumping, even tumbling, running backwards, skipping. Do you do any of that with them? Because to me, that's a big thing. That's how athletes are created.
We do a lot of running. I teach them, how to get the corners of the bags when they're rounding, or how to, run on an angle when you're going to the next base. We do a lot of that. I do a lot of drills where they're like running to a spot and then catching, or like learning how to throw on the move. We'll do a game with that where I'll put like a hula hoop on the fence, and that you can do like 10 different ways. I can go straight on. I can make them move right, make them move left, make them catch the ball, run to a spot, then throw it. So we do some movement stuff. I'd say I could probably get better at that because I was never taught that when I played.
Yeah, again, everybody on this show has heard me say it a million times that, especially me, when I played, it was such a long time ago, we had no instruction whatsoever. Like when we were hitting, the only thing they told us to do was keep your elbow up, which we know is not right anymore, and keep your eye on the ball. And that was all they told us. And, everything else we had to develop ourselves. But the problem is that, and I'm sure it's the same way in Chicago, that, kids aren't out in the streets running around and playing anymore. They're in the house, they're on their phones, they're doing this. We learned a lot of our athleticism, by climbing fences, climbing trees, jumping over fire hydrants, stuff like that, that developed us. So I believe that when we're training young kids, that those are the things we should be doing.
Hmm.
Is having them learn these skills. Even when I would train like 10, 11, 12 year olds, the first thing I would have them do is I would have them skip down the cage and skip back. And you could tell a lot about the athleticism of a kid by how he skips, whether he could do it or not,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, that's a great point. I make it a habit, at least for my son, to also play multiple sports because you learn different body movements by playing other sports. I don't want him to just play baseball all year. Um, so he'll be in baseball spring, fall, and then we'll do something else, until baseball comes back around.
Yeah. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I can't agree with you more that's really important. So, um let's jump back to the parents a little bit. So how did the parents react to the way you're coaching? Do they sit back and watch what you're doing, or are they trying to instruct the kids while you're instructing them? How's that look?
Um, I'd say I have about 6 parent coaches that are out there with me. Um, I think pretty much all of them agree with how I coach. I've never had one tell me, I hate this or this is all wrong. Um, the parents that aren't coaching, they're really supportive
Good.
of what I do. But I also set expectations before the season of kind of how I coach, and I make it a point to let everyone know, like, just don't coach from the stands. That is a pretty big pet peeve of mine. I do not like that. Even when I was a player, I did not like that. Because especially in a game, kids probably already nervous, and then you're going to tell them, keep your elbow up or get in front of it. Those things are already, you know, one, that you might be wrong. Two, they're probably already trying to do that. So you yelling at them is not going to make it any better.
Yeah.
Um, but I think everyone pretty much respects the way I coach, and they really like it. From this year to last year, I had every single kid come back, and so I'm pretty sure it'll be the same going forward. Um, so, yeah, the parents are really helpful. And also, I feel like as a head coach, it's your job to also get them involved, get them, to not be so shy, not talk to each other. So I really try to, get everyone engaged. I also always do like a parents kids game, like a wiffle ball game. I did that for the first time last year, my first year at T-ball, and that was great. I felt like I should have did it earlier because we did it at the end of the season. I feel like after that, the parents were like really, bought into everything, and like we're really a community after that. So I like doing that. I might even do it more than once a year after, seeing the results the past 2 years of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty powerful. That's a beautiful thing. And you had mentioned about coaching from the stands. The thing that drives me crazy about that is you're confusing the kid because
Yeah.
the coach may be telling him one thing and you're telling him something else. Now he doesn't know. Do I listen to my mom and dad? Do I listen to my coach? It's crazy. But I also
Yeah.
believe, and I don't know. Give me your opinion on this. But I also believe that the parents can be a very big ally for you because if you're working on a kid fielding a ground ball or working on his throwing, you could actually take the parent and say, "Hey, mom, dad, come here. When you're home, this is what I want you to do with him." And have him do this, 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day. And if they buy into it, then they could be an asset to you, right?
Yeah, that is a great point. Yeah, I think they can because you only have so much time with the kid. You only get so much practice time, and then game start. So like this year, we had 3 weeks, so 6 practices before we had our game. Um, there's so much I have to go through, especially when it was last year when it was their first year. I got to teach them where to stand, where's first base, what's second base, what's third base. So you got 3 weeks to teach a kid who's probably never played before because they were all so young. So yeah, they can be a huge asset. You can tell the kids who their parents work with them at home the most because they get things really fast or something you worked on last practice, they come next practice and they've already mastered it. So yeah, they're a huge asset.
Yeah, like you said, it takes a lot of the burden off of you. And yeah, I mean, let's face it, you're in Chicago, I'm in New York, we're cold weather places. We don't get to work very much with them before, the season starts. So,
Yeah.
the more you can get out of everybody involved, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And then this year, the league, I think it was our second year, they did winter clinics. So we got a week in the, I mean, a day in the gym every week for, I think it was 6 or 8 weeks. And it was through the park district. So I think it was only like $20 a kid. And it was really good. You could tell the kids that went through that program, by the end of it, they had progressed so much.
Yeah, I mean, at the younger ages, you're going to see that advancement in development a lot faster than you'll see it in older kids. Which is, if I mean, you could work on the simplest things with young guys. Just take them in the gym and just roll them a wall.
Yeah.
That's it. So yeah, that's fantastic. What do you do? And this just popped into my head. When you're working with young kids, let's face it, the baseball is hard, and
Yeah.
when you throw it to them, they have to be afraid of it. Do you do anything to minimize that fear in them?
Yeah. I like to start out with like a wiffle ball or a tennis ball. And just get them to get their left hand to hit it. Not even squeezing yet. Just to know to get it, and block it. Um, and then I'll start progressing from there. Now we'll squeeze it. It's always easier with a softer ball because they could feel confident. And then we'll move to the T-ball because the T-balls are soft, but they're heavy. You get a leather wrapped T-ball coming at you, they hurt. you know?
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think that's a great idea. And I'll even expand on that, that even if you took their glove, take their glove off
Yeah.
and, even go as far as to use like, some rolled up socks that are soft and throw it to
Mm.
them. And yes, get them to, move their hands to just like you said, just pat the ball and those type of things. Again, you'll see development real fast, doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Peter Caliendo, who's a good friend, he travels the whole world teaching coaches how to coach. And, he said to me, and I want your opinion on this, that like, especially like T-ball, maybe we should be using bigger barreled bats or and maybe even bigger balls. Not, not quite like a soccer ball, but a little bit smaller than that because this way what it does is it gives them that feeling of success because it's easier to hit with a bigger barreled bat. Even like I think they make like wiffle ball bats that are big barrel.
Yeah.
What do you think about that, training kids so that they feel that success, and then from there they can move on to the real thing eventually.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I've done that with my son when he was really little. I started him when he was 3. And it's even everyone's first the little Tykes ball and bat. The barrel's like this big.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea. And I think you should start out with like the lightest big barreled bat with those plastic bats that you could find. That way they learn how to swing it. Um, yeah, it's a great idea because the confidence is the first thing you need to build that teach them that they can do whatever you're trying to show them to do. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, you could actually, like, while you have during one of your practices, have one group off to the side that somebody's tossing them and hitting with a bigger barrel, and again, just to get that feel, just to feel that confidence, and get that the feeling of how the body moves and all of that stuff, and then maybe have another station where yes, maybe they are hitting off the tee and going back to that type of stuff, which, again, I think it would be fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, you could see their eyes light up when they hit a good one off the tee and get stuck in the fence or something. They're so happy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. I love that. And again, that's what it's about, right? It's about making it fun. We want to see that joy on their face because, you want them to say, man, you know what? I can't wait to see Coach Sal again in the spring. We're going to have so much fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what my whole thing. I try to make it as fun as possible. Um, We do a lot for these kids. Mother's Day we did like pink wristbands, and we gave flowers to all the moms. Father's Day they did keychains, and we take pictures all the time. So we always make something out of whatever holiday is coming up. I did Father's Day themed walk-up songs, Mother's Day themed walk-up songs. So like, there's always something,
Yeah.
that we can do to make it a lot more fun for them. And the kids really respond to it. They really love it.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. I mean, I've seen videos, and I'm sure you've seen them on, online, YouTube, whatever, where you get these little kids. They're like 5, 6 years old, and there's music playing, and the kid's dancing as he goes up to the batter's box, and it's
Yeah.
adorable to watch. But you could see that kid is genuinely having fun.
Yeah, they want to be there.
Yeah. So run us through like a typical practice. What does a typical practice look like for you?
Yeah, I normally keep them about an hour for them. So I set up like 3 or 4 cones, and they always do their stretches and their form running first. So I kind of showed them a progression in the beginning, and then towards the end of the season, they had it memorized. So I get them doing high knees, butt kicks, sprints, shuffle, run, things like that. Start do some stretching, and then we'll start, playing catch really close. I haven't showed them a throwing progression yet. I think that's something I'll probably work on in the next level when they're a little older. So like, getting your wrists warm and then breaking out figure eights and stuff like that. That's probably the next thing I'm going to add to like their pre-practice routine. And then from there, it depends what I wanted to work on. If we just had a game and I saw something that I was like, oh, I haven't taught them yet, I'll go straight into that. Like one time it was forehands and backhands. I noticed they were trying to get in front of balls that are too far. They can't get in front of them. So we start working on, I set up something to work on forehands and backhands so they know how to do it. Um, I really, I usually plan the day before what drills I want to run in practice, and I'll text all my coaches, hey, this is what I was thinking for tomorrow. And they'll usually say, yeah, that's good, or we should add this too. And then I'll go from there. So it's like really collaborative. I always want their input too. I'll never just be like, no, I'm the head coach, we're doing this. um, so yeah, and then I always try to get them some live hitting in, even though that takes the most time, so it's hard. Um, but even if it's just hitting into the cage, I always want them to get some swings in, just because I know that's what they really enjoy. So we might as well do it every time. This year, I started teaching them how to slide on it's called Slide MVP. It's like a big mat. I taught them that. They love sliding,
Yeah.
so they're always asking me if we could slide. So I usually work that in, or I'll be like, well, if we get through all this, we can slide, and then we'll slide. We always run the bases at the end of practice too, getting them used to, making turns and not passing people. Um, so yeah, I make a ton of games in practice. Towards the end, we started working on a lot of throwing. So I set up like bats, so instead of a first baseman, we just had bats so they can get used to throwing to a target. And then we moved to the pitcher's mound, and I set up bases, at home plate so they could try to knock the bats down. They thought that was the coolest game ever,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially when they actually hit it. And then that also kind of teaches them, well, I don't have to get it there on the fly every time as long as it's online, 1-2 hop, that's good.
Yeah. Yeah. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. I mean, that's something that younger high school players, like catchers, because that's the first thing that came to my mind. Even if their arm is not strong enough, they're trying to get the ball to second base. And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
bounce it. Give it, give them a long hop to second base. That's just as effective. It's good, and like you just said, when they're throwing, they learn that. They learn because you're teaching them. Not a lot of guys teach it, that you don't have to get it there on the fly. You could, give them a nice big hop, and that's just as good.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was one new drill I found online that we added this year was setting up the bat so they fall down. They think it's so cool.
Right.
But yeah, that's a typical day for practice. During season, it's more I'm like taking what from the game. What did I see at the game? What were they really struggling with, or what was just something we haven't even looked at yet that came up that I didn't think would, like the forehands and backhands. Um, so yeah, that's kind of how I run it. I keep it loose. I always ask my coaches, what do they think about whatever drill I want to run, or sometimes, they'll say, "Hey, I saw this, want to do this," and my answer is almost always yes, because, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
always willing to try new drills.
yeah, I mean, I do that with my coaches all the time. Is I'll just tell them, look, here's the practice plan. Do whatever you want. We're gonna work on this, work on that. However you want to do it, it doesn't matter to me. See you later. I'll go work with the hitters or I'll go work with the pitchers. I think that most coaches, I don't want to say most, but some coaches, ego gets involved in it, and they don't want to give up. I know me. I want to give it all up. You guys take care of this. I'll take care of the other stuff. So that's a great trait, that you're willing to listen and you're willing to, put into play what they're suggesting.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people, even like when I come to them, like maybe they're another head coach, I'd be like, "Hey man, I got like a bunch of drills and instructional stuff." They're like, "Oh no, I know what I'm doing," or "I got it." And I'll be like, "Okay." On the flip side, when people come to me with information or new drills, I'll always look at it. I never think I know enough.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's a great trait to have. I mean, I can tell you, even at my age, I'll learn from you. I learn from everybody. I'm always open to hear what somebody has to say, because if they're giving me, this much, but I can get that much out of it, well, then I'm a better coach because I got something from it.
Yeah.
And that's actually going to lead me into what I wanted to talk to you about next. So what are you doing, or what are coaches in your league doing also, as far as education is concerned? Are you doing anything?
Yeah. At least for T-ball this year, I kind of came up with, I just used the Little League T-ball guide, but that thing's like 85 pages. So I went through it and condensed it into about like 15 drills that I personally use and like, and I sent them that. This year, this is the first year the league required we did the USA Baseball certification. I think it was the A. It's a free certification. A lot of good information there. We did that, and then we also did a coaches clinic. Just kind of going over like how to run a practice, how to set up the bases, for the new people who probably haven't done it before. I think we want to expand on that next year, because we did that, it was a 1-day thing. I think we want to get it more, because the more information we can get to the coaches, especially maybe someone who hasn't played before, first time coaching, maybe they're nervous about it. We want to be able to, at least get them going, get them started in the right direction, and using the drills that we know to work, or, think are the best.
That's really interesting. The USA Baseball stuff is fantastic. I for the life of me can't understand why every single little league wouldn't use that, because I'll be honest with you, a new course came out. I think it was yesterday that I got the email. New course out. It was something about running an effective hitting practice, and I took the course. I took it this morning. All right, now most of the stuff I already knew, but there were a couple of things in there that I said, "Oh, you know what? This makes me better. You know what? This makes me better." So I don't understand why coaches wouldn't jump on that and use every resource they have.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a big balancing act, especially with rec ball, where it's volunteer ran. Most people are working, a full-time job, and not everyone is as crazy about baseball as I am, and just want to be the best coach. So I get both sides of it. I'm the type of person that'll take every course possible. I'll even go watch other people's games and practices, see what I can take. Some of the best drills I've found, I took it from a different coach, or so I think there's a lot to be learned. But there's also limitations of a volunteer ran organization like ours. So it's a give and take for sure.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I mean, we've talked about it a million times. Again, going back to Peter Caliendo, because I believe that, he like I said, he trains people on how to train players. So, he talks about this stuff where it's mandated in certain countries that you can't get in a dugout unless you have certain certification mandated by the government. Well, I want to say where do you own, but I'm really surprised that in New York, not New York, but in the United States, there's not at least a base level of training that somebody has to have to be able to work with baseball players or any sport. I don't care what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that would be something great if we've had something like that. At least have a base, because some parents are really well intended, really just want to help out, but don't have the information or knowledge, necessary to do it effectively.
Right. And, the more that we can help them understand that you don't have to be a quote unquote coach. At the ABCA, when we're at our youth baseball summit, Ryan Brownlee always talks about being a facilitator. And that's all you need to do, really, especially, at the young ages. When they get older, you have to know a lot more. But the simple things, like I said, how to run the bases, how to do a rundown properly. People could look online and get that information and say, oh, okay, I'm going to teach the boys tomorrow how to do a rundown,
Yeah. 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 I think that's a great point. And to that point too, you can also be involved on a team without coaching. Like I have parents who help me out that get the kids their helmets and their bats, or just get them in order. Those things are really necessary when you're working with kids this young. So I encourage all parents to get involved, whether they know anything or not. We'll figure something out. We'll work together and find something, for them to help.
Yeah, exactly. And, I think the problem with mandating it is that if you mandate it, then what happens is a lot of people won't do it. They won't do the course, or they won't, and again, I'll jump back to Peter. I know I'm referring to him a lot because he taught me a lot about this stuff. And he said that, in the beginning, you're going to lose people that think that they know it all. And I don't need that. I'm not doing that. He said, but really, in reality, those are the people that you don't want there.
Yeah.
You want people like yourself that, like you said, you're constantly trying to learn. You're trying to get better. You're committed to what you're doing, because even though you're a volunteer, well, you're still volunteered to do a job.
Yeah.
You got to do it, at least to the best of your ability.
Yeah.
So, let's see. Let's talk a little bit about, I know this is a little tough, but I get into it with every show. With the young guys, the mental side of things. Okay. And again, I'm not talking about visualization and meditation and the stuff that we do at the high school level, but you could work with young guys, on how to deal with failure, which is a real big thing. How do you handle that? Like little Johnny can't get the ball off the tee and he starts crying.
Yeah. A lot of encouragement. I'll talk to the player. It's usually one-on-one, I'd say, on the mental side of things, at least for this age. But I always try to encourage them, or just celebrating the little wins, like if we're working on catch and it just hits his glove, and I'll be like, oh, wow, that was great. It hit your glove. Especially with my son too, he doesn't quite know how to close his glove and catch yet. I talk to him like that all the time. I make him think just hitting the glove was so great. But I do that for all the players, whatever it is, just celebrating the little wins, or celebrating the effort. That was a great try. That was a great swing, because I just want to build their confidence, and as long as their effort is there, the success will come later. And also letting them know, like, hey, we're just doing this for fun. They always want to know if they won or lost. And then if I ever did tell them they lost, they'd probably cry. So, and then also explaining it's okay to lose. I think this year I told them, baseball is a game of failure. You're going to fail more than you're successful. So we can't be hard on ourselves for, failing, because even, guys in the big leagues hitting 300. So they still fail 7 out of 10 times. So things like that. I think we'll get more into that, like as a team, probably as we move up, having some more conversations either before or after practice about, our mindset and, how we're going to deal with, because now they're going to start striking out and, getting out on bases where they've never done that before.
Yeah.
So there'll probably be some probably deep conversations before our first game, leading up into our first game about how it's going to go.
Yeah, that's again, it's something that I believe, like we talked about before, the earlier that you can get to them and start working, doesn't have to be elaborate, but the earlier you can get to them and make them understand that it's okay to strike out, like you said, and that body language is a big thing. Okay, so you strike out, the shoulders go down, the head slumps, and you're walking back to the dugout and you're all upset. No, we want to teach them. You could do this at the young age that we strike out, we grab the bat, and we hustle back to the dugout, and we'll get them next time. Is it going to take hold right away? Of course not. It's like anything else; you have to train it, and I think that if you keep hammering that home, that by the time they're 8, 9, 10, 11
Yeah.
years old, they're conditioned already.
Yeah. Something we started this year is like teaching them to cheer on their teammates, like while they're in their dugout waiting so they can learn, how to be a good teammate. Because that's really important. So, that'll go into, when someone strikes out, what do we do when he's coming back to the dugout? We want to give him a pat on the back, tell him it's all right, get him next time.
Yeah, yeah. So, what do you think are like the biggest challenges that you face in Little League Baseball? And I don't mean like right now. I mean like as your son goes through the ranks.
Um, I think some of the biggest challenges, time. Time is always, an issue. How often you get to fields. Um, Parents, from what I've seen, they could be a biggest ally or like the biggest problem, arguing with kid umpires, arguing with adult umpires, arguing with coaches, or coaches arguing with other coaches, I think those are problems in every sport. Um, and yeah, I'd say those are the biggest ones. Just, I think we should all just be nicer to each other, It's youth sports, there's not much on the line there. Even in, you see videos of travel ball, 8U, 10U coaches going crazy. I think that's insane.
Well, that kind of led me into my next thing is and I kind of led you into it. But do you think the travel ball is a challenge for you with a community based baseball league? Is that a problem for you guys?
Yeah, it is, we lose players sometimes, that want to go full-time travel. We've kind of done some things to combat it. Like we have a hybrid travel, so it's like an all-star team that'll travel on like Sundays since we don't play on Sundays. So that's kind of one of our solutions to it. Um, but I think it'll always be, a competitor to what we've got going on. But I think we've been doing a really good job of like, getting that, showing what we can do in a in-house league. We have nice uniforms. We take really good care of our fields. We have, a landscaper that comes, gets the weeds out, edges them. So we have really nice, facilities. We did winter clinics. We got a summer clinic through the White Sox this summer. So we're doing all these things, and our league is growing every year. So I think it is a problem, but I don't think it's a huge issue as of late, just based on some of the things we've done.
Well, that's fantastic to hear. So your league is growing. Do you know what the enrollment is
Yeah.
by any chance?
Oh man, I think this
Roughly.
past spring it was 250,
Okay.
something like that. Um, so yeah, it's growing every year. Fall ball right now, we had 100 kids last year total for fall ball. After 3 days of registration being open, we were up to 50 already.
Wow.
So projecting we're going to be well over 100 for this year's fall ball. Um, so yeah, we've just been doing good. I've been helping out on social media and stuff, getting the word out to the community, to our players, to get them come back. So I think we've been doing a lot of good things. We have like an outing to a minor league game every year. That's been going really well. and then our picnic at the end of the year gets bigger every year. So we're doing a lot of good things.
So those are the things that I love about it. Like you said, the picnic at the end of the year. Do you have a parade in the beginning of the year or some type
Yeah,
of
we have a
opening?
parade.
I mean,
Yep.
that is
My
so,
son loves that.
yes.
Every time we drive by, because it's at a local restaurant here that we start the parade at, and he's like, "That's where we went for the parade." He says that every time we drive by.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember when my son was in it, our local league in the town I'm in, there were a lot of kids. I don't know, there was 600, 700 kids in the league, and we would have a parade. And as the boys were walking down the street, like all of the parents and stuff that are on the side, they were throwing candy to the kids, and the kids were getting candy. And I mean, that's a great, great community event. We don't have it anymore here. It's gone. That parade never happens anymore.
Oh wow.
And it's sad because all of the travel baseball has decimated community
Yeah.
baseball here, and it's such a shame because there's got to be a way to let people understand that yeah, you might be playing travel ball, and yes, you're paying thousands of dollars to be on that team, but that kid is not learning anything. You could
Yeah.
concentrate on making your community baseball better. Instead of spending all of these thousands of dollars, hotels, meals, travel, and gas, it's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. It is. And I think at least the parents on my team, for the most part, see that, we got it. We got a nice league here and we should keep it going. Um, so yeah, I think doing all stars this year was a really big win for us because that way we could keep some of those parents who might have been thinking, oh, I think I want to go full-time travel. Because, we can do that here. We can travel locally and, still get all the benefits of being, an in-house league.
Yeah, yeah, without a doubt. I mean, there's so many good things that a community league can do. I mean, I know a big part of like travel ball for parents is that they get to. It's almost like a short vacation where they go away, they're
Yeah.
staying in hotels, and they go out to dinner, and it becomes a social event. Well,
Yeah.
I think that community leagues could make their Saturday, with all of the kids playing different games at the local field, and then maybe have a barbecue or a picnic afterwards, and everybody, and you could do the same thing. You know,
Yeah.
you're just not
Yeah.
driving 4 hours to go do it.
Yeah, and I think especially in the area we're in, there's enough local tournaments where if you did want to play one or two tournaments at the end of a season, you could do that, get an all-star team and get them in a tournament and let them see how it is. I think you can do that without, doing a tournament every weekend.
Yeah, yeah, it's crazy stuff, but it is what it is, right? So let me ask you this: once you get through the league, and does your league go pretty much up to 12 and then it's over, or do you have stuff on the bigger field?
No, right now it's up to 12, 13. So once they go to high school, they're kind of out of our league.
Okay, so what is your idea of a successful coaching career at that level? In other words, what kind of legacy would you like to leave behind?
I just want to, make the game fun for all the kids and get as many of them to stay with the sport as I can. I think the stat is like something like 70% of the kids leave any sport before like 13. So, whatever we can do as a league to lower that, let's get as many kids to stay. And I think a lot of them leave because coaches, are rough on them, are mean to them. Parents yelling, I think a lot of kids just like, I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think if we can get a grip on that, do whatever we can do to prevent that and, get our coaches to make the game fun, I think that'll be success for me. If I can, get all the kids I coach now to stay with the sport as long as possible.
Yeah, and I mean that's so important. They say that the best compliment to a coach is how many kids come back the following year.
Yeah.
And like you said, that going back to what we were talking about with, like educating coaches and how they learn and stuff, any coach that yells and screams at an 11-year-old kid, okay, my opinion, should not be coaching.
Yeah.
That's not what you're there for. He's a baby. You're supposed to
Yeah.
be building him up, making him feel good, not yelling at him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and I see that everywhere. Everywhere I go, to watch a game, there's coaches yelling, especially I've been to a couple travel games this year and the coaches are just ruthless.
Really?
Yeah. I've seen them yelling, at the kid mid-game, or I've seen a coach, in the middle of a bat from third base saying, "Don't strike out," and then the kid strikes out. How do you think that made him feel?
Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, I can go on and, I've talked about a lot of stories and things that I've seen when I was in the travel world, so I'm not going to get into them. But yeah, I mean, I just don't understand this day and age where you could go online. There's so many places where you can go and learn what's the right way to coach, because let's face it, and I've said this a million times, X's and O's is a very small part of what we do as coaches. It's very small.
Yeah.
All of the other stuff is what's important. How do you build a player up? Every player is different. How do you talk to little Johnny differently than little Petey? And there's just so much to coaching. And believe me, yelling at kids is not one of them. I mean, don't get me wrong. My high school players, believe me, they'll get a foot in the ass from me. I won't say a lot, but they'll get it from me. But what is it for? It's not for striking out. It's not for making an error. It's not for all of that nonsense, okay? What it is I gave you the steal sign 3 times and you missed it, okay? Which tells me you're not engaged in the game, and that upsets me,
Yeah.
That type of stuff.
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, I have never raised my voice, at least. Maybe if they're far and I'm trying to tell them something from far, but I never scream at anyone. It just doesn't work. There's no point to it.
No. I mean, that's something that every coach should understand. That you don't yell at kids. So, well, Sal, look, I can tell you that I'm glad you reached out, and I'm glad that you came on, because this was different. Different than what we usually do here, and I found it very interesting, and I want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for having me.
And listen, good luck in the future, and if you ever need anything, reach out. I'm always here.
Thank you.
All right, Sal.
See ya.
I had to go back and look, and the last time we talked with a Little League coach or anything that had to do with Little League was back in January of 2022. So I really appreciate Sal coming on and sharing his thoughts about his youth baseball program, because I believe that it's something that we should bring to the forefront, because if we could find a way to bring back community-based baseball, teach players the fundamentals, because again, I've said it a million times and I'm going to say it again, I see it at the high school level. These kids do not know the basics of the game. So maybe if we can take guys like Sal, who seem really passionate about teaching these players how to play the game the right way, maybe we could start to turn this thing around. I know that people say with travel baseball that, they want the better competition, but really, are you getting better competition? Now, I know that sometimes you are, and I know sometimes you're not, because travel baseball has been watered down so much that there are teams out there that are, let's face it, they're not very good. So if you go out there and you happen to, and we know that in a tournament, it's the luck of the draw, and you go out there and you play a weekend against 3 or 4 other teams that are not very good, well, you just wasted the whole weekend. So, I don't know. I mean, it's to me, it doesn't make much sense. I think that maybe if a lot of these travel ball coaches would get involved with their communities, then maybe they could help teach these players how to play the game the right way, so that the cream will rise to the top, and then it'll help your local high schools and it'll help these kids to get further in their baseball careers. So, but I don't know, maybe I'm naive. Maybe it's about the money and they're happy with making that extra money. I really don't know, but it doesn't really make much sense to me. So I want to thank Sal. It was a great conversation. And hey, look, maybe it's something that we should do more often. Maybe I should bring on people from local little leagues and, well, not necessarily local, but they could be little leagues from all over the country. And come on and let's talk about what you're doing, how we can help, and how we can make this a better world for everybody. So, if you enjoyed today's show, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Visit the website at thectbshow.net. Listen to your favorite episodes and please leave us a review. You can also reach out to the show on social media, X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and get this, the old man has finally got us on TikTok. Keeps me young. And if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover, please drop us an email at clearingthebases@gmail.com. Your feedback helps us bring you the best content and reach more people in the baseball community just like you. And also, let me know if you'd like to be a guest. Until then, coaches and players, keep practicing, stay positive, and remember, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Thanks, everyone, and I'll see you on the next one.